Manuel, fixed mobile convergence is one of the big themes of the moment with Vodafone and SFR and Americable and so forth. How big is mobile for cable, and what does cable need to do to get into mobile?
I think fixed mobile convergence has reached a point of no return. All cable companies need to develop a mobile strategy. And vice versa, all mobile companies who do not have fixed networks need to think about some kind of fixed solution to what they're doing. It's something that our customers want. They want, particularly, not so much in the voice side, but particularly on the content portability. They want to have an everything, everywhere, all the time kind of availability of their content. And so what cable companies are doing is they are building out MVNOs. Some of them are merging into MNOs, into mobile network operators. But with a couple of examples, Virgin and Telenet in particular have built significant MVNO operations with millions of customers. And so gradually you'll see these cable companies move more into the converged environment.
Looking at the TV platform, Liberty has obviously invested a lot in Horizon. You've got the TiVo platform in the UK as well. How do you see that TV platform evolving, particularly looking at your relationship with OTT providers? I mean, for example, is the likes of Netflix something that you could see as a partner, or that you would add to your service, or is that something you'd see as a competitor?
Well, I think the Horizon platform was exactly designed to be a match for the user interface and the functionality that's being offered on the internet by OTT players. At the same time, we see that the Horizon environment offers actually a lot more than what the typical OTT player offers. And so we are delighted to open up that system for the likes of Netflix and others, where our customers can pick and choose whatever they want. And so we see increasing cooperation also with companies like HBO and others, and we have developed our own SVOD platform, MyPrime, which is now active in a number of countries, and that goes now for Liberty Global, of course. But I would say that's increasingly now a universe that we try to service from all possible angles.
Now, Liberty Global has also invested in content assets itself, for example, De Viva Media in Belgium and so forth. How important is content as an overall part of the company's strategy more broadly?
Well, we've made a number of tactical investments. I think you could qualify it as such. The concentration, the focus of the company still very much is on the cable business, but we do see significant opportunities for cooperation. And if you wish, insourcing on production. When you want to build up a significant SVOD portfolio, it's good to have a number of production houses close to your company. Netflix has shown that actually itself. A company like HBO has been very successful with that kind of strategy. So you could say that we're developing in a similar direction. It doesn't mean that you need to own all of the content, but it means that you have a number of areas where you can experiment, also with new functionalities. If you have new distribution functionalities to use, then it's good to be able to work with a certain number of content parties that are in-house.
Looking more broadly at the quad play, or the triple play and the quad play market across Europe, do you think Liberty Global now has the scale it needs in specific territories and also more broadly at a pan-European level to compete with the big telecom operators who challenge you?
Well, unquestionably, the last 3 years we've gone through a massive transformational process with the market consolidation in the Netherlands, with the acquisition of Virgin Media in the UK, the further increase in market shares in Germany, Belgium, Switzerland, and Austria. And I think, yes, in that sense, we have reached a critical mass. We've reached sufficient scale to compete on equal terms with the incumbents of Europe. And with around 30 million customers now, you could also say that we've become a match for some of the global players in the online community. But that's, we will always be open to look at opportunities out there. But for the moment, there's no need to grow bigger than we are.
You mentioned there the global players in online. Turning to your role as president of Cable Europe and policy environment, there's been a lot of discussion about net neutrality. I mean, where do you think cable should stand on the net neutrality question? And do you see a sort of divergence between what's happening in Europe and what's happening in the US? We've tried to side with the forces in Europe that look for pragmatic solutions to the debate. The debate has become very political, very heated. The US debate in particular, I think, and also with connotations to a regulatory framework that really is not where Europe is today. So in that sense, the two debates are not really comparable. But I think the net neutrality debate in Europe still has an opportunity to go for a pragmatic solution. The Council of Ministers has now kind of tabled a proposal which is something that would give quite a few investment incentives for operators. It would give a number of guarantees for service providers on the web, and in our view, that is the right kind of compromise. So we'll see how that compromise does in the discussions with Parliament. But we're hopeful that is possible. There's been a lot of talk recently about the digital single market and so forth. Looking at the content rights issue across Europe, what sort of changes would you like to see in terms of content rights being more flexible and being more manageable across the whole of the European Union in which you operate?
This is something I think it will be driven by the consumer, by consumer needs, consumer desires. You see today already quite a significant market demand for products which are portable across different territories. We try to offer those kind of products as much as possible. We also try to offer as much as possible online versions of the cable functionality. Of course, we've always done that within footprint in country, but where possible, we try to offer those kind of functionalities also outside of the footprint in the same country, which is something cable companies traditionally were a little bit handicapped on. Those rights negotiations are not always easy. And in particular, if you then want to go one step further and make them portable across countries, those are still difficult discussions which are not always purely commercial discussions. And if the European revision of the European copyright system can help to make those kind of rights negotiations a little bit easier, then we would welcome that.
Looking at the infrastructure competition environment that cable faces and the nature of the telecom industry, do you think the regulatory framework put in place across the EU has now created a level playing field? Are there further changes you'd like to see on that front?
Well, first and foremost, I think the European telecom regulatory framework is still today a very modern and robust piece of work. It has, served its purpose in the past kind of 10, 15 years. There's possibilities for some revisions on the side, but the fundamental elements of the package, technology neutrality, non-discrimination and transparency, and a fairly clear focus on the principle of forbearance. So we only regulate where there is a clear market failure, and those principles still stand and have created a very competitive landscape. And there's no immediate need to fundamentally change that. The only thing is what's going on today is that you'll see a lot of new service providers emerging who do not necessarily fall within the scope of the traditional telecom and broadcasting regulations. The one thing we ask the Commission to watch for is that there's going to be a level playing field between the old and the new industries, that they're all basically governed by the same set of rules.